Welcome to a very special episode of If You Can. Now, if you're normally an audio listener of the show, this may be one to turn the video on, because today we're taking the podcast out of the studio and onto the River Thames. A few of you may have seen that I recently announced my next world record mission, which is to kayak the 7 deadliest ocean crossings on Earth. And today I'm very excited to be interviewing Harry Whelan, who is a multiple world record holding kayaker, and he's taking you on a bit of a journey from Battersea down to Greenwich. Enjoy this very special episode of If You Can. Every adventure begins with a dream, and the truth is I've dreamt for a long time of embarking on a kayaking journey. I love the freedom it brings and the ability to explore the waters from above, rather than below, as I have during my swimming projects over the last few years. This upcoming journey to kayak the 7 deadliest ocean crossings on Earth is a journey that both excites and terrifies me, as all adventures should. The year-long journey, which begins this summer, will cover 6 continents and 12 countries. From the English Channel, which separates the UK and France, the North Channel that separates Northern Ireland and Scotland, to the Singapore Straits, which is known for being one of the busiest maritime crossings in the world, to the infamous Molokai Channel out in Hawaii, which is known as the Channel of Bones. Every crossing will be unique, unpredictable, and equally exciting. And today is day 1, as we begin to turn this dream into a plan. And as I've learned from many of my guests on this show, taking the first step is so often the hardest. So here we are, just by St Mary's Church in Battersea. This is Harry here, our instructor, who's been taking down the kayak today. Harry has held multiple world records for various kayak expeditions, for kayaking around Ireland, for kayaking around Britain. And I think his biggest challenge is going to be today taking the 3 of us down the Thames as we attempt to film this podcast on the water. So we've got Callum here, you may recognise, a previous guest of If You Can. He's joining us, somehow managed to rope him in today. And Lawrence behind the camera, the producer of the show, they're going to be in a joint kayak, a double kayak together. I'm in a solo, and so is Harry. So wish us luck. Right, here we are. We're about to set off. Harry, is he loading in? No, he's about to jump in. This is going to be interesting. It's my first time kayaking on the Thames. I'll be transparent. Like lots of my adventures, I'm an amateur when I start these projects. I was before I ran on 7 continents, before I swam in the 7 seas, and before I complete these 7 kayaks. I'll be very transparent with you guys. I am an amateur. And today is going to be interesting. I've got the challenge of, first of all, the kayaking. Secondly, trying to interview Harry whilst we're kayaking. But also, ultimately, we want to enjoy today. This is a great privilege to be here and to learn a little bit more about the safety of the Thames, to learn about the great impact it can have on our health, and also celebrating London too. So here we go.
I think the overall crossing is about 14 miles.
14 miles.
So the tide here, the lowest tides of the year, it's just over a metre of water there. That's at low water. But high water plus another 7 metres. Yeah. Today the tide is rising and falling by about 4.5 metres. On a big tide here, it's over 7, and that's a lot of water. The tide, when it comes in, is pushing uphill. The tide, when it goes out, flows downhill.
It does, and it seems like all these details, all the planning, the preparation is more work actually than getting out there and taking people out there sometimes.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of, you look at the forecast tide, but it's a lot of local knowledge. Tides are easy to work out. Then you take into account the weather and the ability of the group and what you're doing. But the river is fascinating, because if it's high water at Tower, down here tide's going out for almost an hour and a half. It's still another hour before the tide comes in at Teddington. So there's always movement of water, and that huge volume coming in and out makes these trips possible. It also creates risk. It also creates opportunity. So it's a balance between risk, opportunity that you use to move the group around. Yeah, and these trips wouldn't work without the very strong tidal flow. 4.5 metre tide today. It can be up to 7 metres. So it's a lot of water coming in and out.
Here we are, about 2 miles in. It's a bit of a picturesque landscape coming up. We're about to go past the London Eye. We've got the Big Ben on our left. It's a pretty special way to see London.
the sounds and sights of London are quite impressive, really. And it's also people's relationship with London, because they're in that vista. They'll see that vista in films, they'll see it from the riverbank, and now they're physically in it, you know, on that journey. And the journey never ends in the photographs. You're always out there paddling. That's great, it really is good. It brings people together. They have a very different understanding of what the river is post their trip than before, and they walk away knowing a fair bit of knowledge, and yeah, it's great.
Is there something the river can teach us about other parts of our life?
Just change, really. It's huge change. It always changes, you know. There's no constant other than change.
Right, here we are, we've just stopped. We're switching over Callum and Lawrence, try and turn them around in the doubles, and just gone past some incredible landmarks down London, from the Big Ben, London Eye, House of Commons. We're now continuing that direction. There's Callum, stretching out his back. How's the back, Callum?
Yes, taking a bit of a battering in the kayak, but it's been entertaining.
Bit different to the gym?
Yeah, it's been a nice way to see London as well.
Good. Pleasure to have you here. After meeting Harry and getting out onto the water, I very quickly learned he's a stoic man, a man of action, and someone who also truly lives and breathes his profession. It was an honour to see him in his natural setting, where he feels his strongest. He spoke with both experience and passion. And like all of my guests on this show, I learned a great amount. As we approached and passed through central London, we were passed by a few boats who kicked up this great wash behind them and left waves in their rear view mirrors. Harry's advice, however, was simple. Paddle through the waves. Don't stop, don't panic. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And like life, I suppose, we must keep moving forward. A selfish question, what's your advice to me as I embark on this new project, a new sport and discipline for me too?
I'd say paddle. I definitely get some help. You know, stay focused, go for it. You're strong in the boat, no doubt about that. You got a good style, no doubt about that. And just take it all in instead of, you know, this mission to get to the end as fast as possible without looking and just creating a whole lot of grief behind you. So.
One of my strongest memories from our paddle was when Harry asked us to turn around. We'd planned to kayak from A to B, so this was a shock to myself and the team. Conscious, however, of Harry's expertise and knowledge, we listened, turned around and began to paddle against the current. And then I realised why. Harry wanted us to feel the difference in paddling with versus against the stream. I struggled, unable to make any progress after 5 minutes. If this was a boxing match, the referee would have stepped in by now to save me. I've been pursuing my adventures now for almost 5 years full time. And the truth is, as much as my expeditions have inspired me, they've also humbled me. Whether it was running through a rainstorm in the Amazon, swimming against riptides during the Alcatraz crossing, or confronting the polar conditions of the Arctic and the Antarctic, these great places and environments remind us how fragile, small, and inferior we are as humans compared to Mother Nature. In fact, there's a saying in my world, you can never beat Mother Nature, but if you're lucky enough, you may be able to survive her. Well, it turns out you don't need to go as far as the jungles or the deserts to feel that. Here I was, kayaking in my home city, the heart of London, in the Thames, and I was humbled the very same way. There's another lesson this moment reminded me of. Paul Zerdin, America's Got Talent winner and one of the greatest ventriloquists in history, and my second ever guest on this show, shared advice that I still think about 5 months on. Trust your gut. That it's okay to follow what feels right, and I suppose in a paddling context, to go with the stream. Truthfully, there's been many times in my career I feel like I'm fighting against the stream, maybe trying to prove others wrong or myself right, when actually sometimes life, our gut, the world knows what's best. Paddle with the stream. And just coming in for hopefully a beautiful landing. And now to try and not fall out whilst on camera, and what will probably be even more embarrassing in front of Harry. And here he is. What a wonderful morning. I'm going to bring the kayaks in and say a very important thank you to Harry. Harry, thank you so much for today, for looking after us. I just want to say, with my journey, I've been very lucky to take on some running challenges, some swimming. I'm now preparing for kayaking, but I'm very aware I'm an amateur in every sport I do. But the greatest privilege is to spend time with experts and those who are humble enough to share their sports and their advice. So thank you seriously for today.
You're welcome. Yeah, the river's great.
It is. And we've had a good time. The day after kayaking with Harry, I delivered my 100th talk. I was 22 years old when I gave my first after-dinner talk. I was there to talk about the adventure spirit and what I've learned. The truth is, I was terrified. I didn't sleep the night before, not scared of the audience or the sponsor I was trying to impress, but of the reality that I wasn't really sure what I've learned. Well, 4.5 years on, 100 talks later, I'm still searching for some of those big answers, but I do believe I'm in a better place to explain the adventure spirit. The reality is, adventure is not defined by a place or a destination, as I naively thought a few years ago. Adventure is defined by a feeling, by a mindset, by challenging ourselves, taking that first step, especially when we're scared, embracing the unknown, and being open to allowing the courage in our hearts to guide us. That's what the adventure spirit is to me. Well, this day on the Thames reminded me exactly of why I talk about that lesson so much. I've grown up in London, I'm proud to call it my city, and I spend a lot of time near this river, in fact, in meetings and pitching for the next adventure, and naively I felt like I'd seen it all. This kayak, with Harry, showed me I was wrong. Experiencing London from this angle for the first time was a totally new experience. It was incredible. It shifted my perspective, because in every way it was its own adventure. When I finish my talks, I share with audiences that adventure is everywhere. It's in every city and in every room. You don't need to travel hundreds or thousands of miles away or break your own world record. You just need to get out there. You need to start and not stop until you reach that finish line. And somewhere between the two, you'll find your own adventure. And today, thanks to Harry, I reminded myself of that very lesson. And hopefully it may have sparked an idea for your own adventure too.
Unfortunately, all journeys come to an end, and it's that I find very difficult. The fact when something ends, what do you do next, or where do you go? And that's, good luck there.
So you can see we're out of the kayaks now. We've actually just got the Uber boat back towards almost Battersea direction. But I just want to say that was such an incredible day with Harry. Big thank you to Harry, seriously, and to the London Kayak Company for hosting us. He very kindly said to us off camera that he gets lots of requests like this, but has to say no to most of them. But he kindly said yes to this one. So we felt very humbled to be in his company. And on a personal note, today instilled a lot of confidence in me going into this upcoming project, and also just excitement of, if it's this fun to kayak down the London Thames, imagine how amazing it's going to be to kayak through the Molokai Channel in Hawaii or the Gibraltar Strait, a cross-continental swim, whatever it will be. I'm so excited. So I want to say a big thank you to Harry, to Callum and Lawrence for joining me on the water as well, and of course to Bob. Bob are our sponsor of the show, if you can. Bob are a refillable body wash, which is good for the planet, good for your skin, and as I like to say, good for the soul. And they've been incredibly supportive of this show. They took a risk on us before we even launched, and we're so humbled to have their support. And actually on that note, many of those who listen to this show will know that we finish every week with a Bob Everyday Hero, which is our weekly segment. To finish the show, we give a shout out and a thank you and a big well done to one of you, to one of our listeners. Well, this week I'm going to take control of the Everyday Hero, and I want to nominate Harry, because Harry was a bit of a silent hero in my opinion. Very quiet, very humble, didn't want to brag too much about his expeditions and his world records, but he is an everyday hero. So Harry, we're going to send you out a couple of these for you and your team, and hopefully we'll see you back on the water again very soon. But apart from that, thank you for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you soon back in the studio.